we have a great divide between what I would call the technically skilled and the technically challenged. And personally, I have very, very little patience with any librarian, even if they're 30 for that matter, who struggles with what I would call basic consumer technology, text editing, email, web browsing, RSS feeds, RSS readers, online calendars, blogs, wikis, and so forth. It's basic stuff. I didn't use computers in schools. Wasn't raised with a mouse in my hand. I used primitive PCs at best in college. And I learned how to do it because I was persistent and jumped off a few cliffs and took a few risks.
But if I'm going to go out into the departments and into the labs, then I need to know a lot more about them and about what they're doing and about the pressures they're facing in order to be effective, particularly, I think, in a time of transition in which they may not necessarily see my value, and I need to show it to them by directly connecting it to problems that they actually have right now.
But I feel like project management is something that we sorely lack. I mean, basic things like saying this is our goal and this is the date that we're going to accomplish it by, and sticking to that date, and creating the objective of what makes this project successful, and then trying to meet that goal of saying, okay, we said if we do this, this, and this, then we are successful, and saying, okay, on this date, are we successful? So I guess the assessment, the project management.
Don't let too many sacred cows crowd your horizon, because if we are making decisions for where we move in the future based on what we felt was important in the past, then we're only setting ourselves up.
If you're not failing, you're not learning. And that's true. So we need to start taking more risks. We need to try things. We need to assess whether or not they were a success or a failure. And if they're a failure, then we need to understand it's okay to fall. It's okay to fail.
In order to present the best information or to meet the needs of our users in the best possible way, I think that we need to learn how to be much more experimental with things and to try new things and not be afraid if it falls flat on its face and say, okay, that didn't work, but we're just going to move forward and try something else and learn from our mistakes.
Well, I think as much as I'm a fan of reaching consensus, I think that it doesn't help us always, that we need to at least agree to begin someplace.
If you have one person who doesn't like the new idea and has a loud enough voice about it, because we're so collegial and so collaborative, one person can stop a process, or instead of looking at the greater whole, we can get caught up on this one opinion of this one person and say, well, we're not going to go forward with this because this person really thinks it's a bad idea, as opposed to saying, well, we're hitting 80% and that's pretty good.
There is little to no fiscal transparency in the organization. So if you want to put together a proposal that costs some money, it's often a big, the major question is, where do I go with this? To whom do I give this to get the money? It seems like the only people who can greenlight it are in the top administration, but they're not really accessible for most people to pitch ideas to.
The one thing that I wish would be improved is sort of transparency and trust issues. We have some issues with the budget is sort of a big giant mystery, and it would be really great if we had the tools to be able to really look at the budget and make sure that we're expending our resources as wisely as we can. With technology, I have the responsibility of making sure that all the technology works, but I have no budget. I mean, I have literally no budget at all. I have to ask for every single thing that I need to purchase.
Having a dynamic leader who really gets out and talks to the faculty and is not always so library centric can make a huge difference.
I think that libraries and research libraries in particular have kind of prided themselves on kind of the competitive nature of our environment in many ways, and I think that's constrained us from being more collaborative with